They thought their uniforms made them untouchable. 3 cops, standing tall under flashing lights, convinced their badges gave them the right to control anyone, any time. And in front of them stood Marcus, a black man, unarmed, guilty of nothing more than walking home. To them, his skin was the crime. They cuffed him as though his existence alone was a threat. But what they didn't know was that this night would not be forgotten. One day they would see him again, not on the street, but in a place where the tables had turned. And the look on their faces when it happened spoke louder than any verdict. Marcus wasn't a man who looked for trouble. He lived quietly, worked tirelessly, and cared for his family with the kind of devotion that didn't make headlines but built communities. Every morning before sunrise, he laced his shoes, stepped out of his modest apartment, and carried himself with the quiet dignity of someone who believed that hard work was his shield. To neighbors, Marcus was the one you could count on, reliable, kind, the man who would fix a lock or carry groceries without being asked. But no matter how steady his life seemed, there was a shadow he could never escape. In his city, being black meant walking with caution, second-guessing every move, hoping not to draw the wrong kind of attention. He thought if he kept his head down, he'd be safe. That night proved him wrong. The sirens came suddenly, slicing through the stillness of the street. At first, Marcus thought it was an ambulance, maybe a fire truck, but the headlights pinned him in place. A cruiser slowed, then stopped. 3 officers stepped out, their boots heavy against the pavement. Marcus froze. He hadn't broken a single law. No ticket, no noise complaint, nothing. But the way their eyes locked on him told him it didn't matter. They didn't see Marcus, the hard-working neighbor. They didn't see Marcus, the devoted son. They saw a suspect, nothing more. On the ground, one barked. Confusion collided with fear. Marcus tried to speak, to explain, but his words never had a chance. Cold steel cuffs snapped around his wrists before he could finish a sentence. His pockets were emptied onto the hood of the car, keys, wallet, a folded paper from work. Harmless things, yet handled as if they were weapons. People watched from their windows. Curtains shifted, whispers floated, but no one stepped outside. That silence cut deeper than the cuffs. Children's faces pressed against glass, wide-eyed, learning a cruel lesson. That skin color could decide whether someone walked home or rode away in the back of a squad car. The station was worse. The cell was small, concrete walls pressing in. Hours passed without answers. No lawyer, no explanation. Just the echo of officers laughing somewhere down the hall while Marcus sat invisible, powerless, already judged. But this wasn't the end of Marcus's story. It was the beginning. Because what those officers didn't know was that truth has a way of surfacing. Months later, Marcus walked into a courtroom, not as a man accused, but as the man bringing the fight. The same officers who once dragged him off the street now sat at the defense table, their uniforms replaced with suits, their confidence stripped away. For the first time, the balance of power had shifted. As testimony unfolded, the truth spilled into the open. Videos neighbors had captured surfaced. The arrest, the search, the humiliation, proof no one could deny. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as the footage played. The officers' smirks were gone, their eyes downcast, their hands trembling. Marcus sat steady, though inside every second replayed the night he was robbed of his dignity. This was more than a trial. It was his chance to be seen, his pain finally acknowledged. And the silence of the courtroom carried something new: accountability. When the verdict came, Marcus didn't cheer. There was no smile of victory, no triumph in his eyes, because the scars of that night, the cuffs, the humiliation, the sound of laughter in the dark, weren't erased by a guilty verdict. Justice on paper didn't undo injustice lived, but his story was no longer invisible. Neighbors who once stayed quiet began speaking up. Strangers reached out, saying his courage gave them hope. Marcus realized that even in his darkest moment, by standing up, he had lit a fire others couldn't ignore. Yet one question lingers. How many more Marcuses are out there? How many lives shattered in silence, without witnesses, without video, without justice? This isn't just one man's story. It's a mirror held up to a system still weighed down by prejudice. And the real question we must all face is this: how long will we allow it? Because change won't come from silence. It comes when stories like Marcus's don't just echo in a courtroom, but ignite a movement. And what happens next depends on us.